What's going on out there, world? It's your boy Will Lyons, Generations of the Game. My co-host JP, he will be joining us a little later, but I'm joined by one of the most notable coaches in America. You know, if you follow hoops on any level and you know winning, you know this prestigious individual I'm about to bring up. You know, he is Mr. Miak, as I refer to him as, you know, the coach of Norfolk State men's basketball team, Coach Jones, who's been doing this thing at NSU for a while now, won the conference, I believe, 4 times, if research supports me, and had a couple NCAA tourney appearances as well. Coach, appreciate your time. How you doing this evening?
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
It's my pleasure. All right, coach. So we're gonna get right into it. The first question that I have for you, you know, you've been, you know, at NSU for a while now. Can you speak to the importance of, you know, HBCUs, and in your experience being at Norfolk State for a while now, what sets NSU apart?
Well, I think just HBCUs in general sometimes get a bad rep for for many different reasons. Um, some of it could just be pure, just racial. Some of it could just be just people not knowing exactly what HBCU is or what it has to offer. So I think there's a couple different reasons why HBCUs get a bad rap now. Us at Norfolk, um, it's funny. A lot of times people will come and visit us, whether it's a prospective student athlete or just whatever it might be, and they say, "Oh, you got a lot more than what I thought you had." And the question I always have sometimes like, "What did you think we was gonna have?" I think that is already is a misconception out there that's already kind of put into people's heads about what supposedly a HBCU looks like, and usually we surpass all of those connotations and things like that that people think that we're gonna look like, Um, that I would say that about the HBCU. And also, HBCU is a very family oriented environment. I didn't go to HBCU myself, but after working at Norfolk for 17 years, like I'm like an honorary member now at this point. So it's like I can see like it's more of a family oriented environment.
Definitely, man. 17 years. That's a minute. You definitely, you know, stamped, you know, on that campus now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, kind of want to touch on what you were talking about. You know, when you have like prospective, you know, athletes on the campus and families and everything. Um, One thing that I saw actually today that you put up on your IG is that Norfolk State actually has the third most wins out of all the schools in the state of Virginia since 2011. You know, can you just speak to the impact on that? Because I feel like, you know, following hoops, you know, writing on it, following players, I feel like there is a lot of ignorance, honestly, you know, when it comes to looking at HBCUs, not comparing you to, but similar to the way that some people look at, you know, D2 or D3. And it's like, you know, you live in a dream. You get an opportunity to further your education and play ball. What's better than that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it is what you said, and even though we're not D2 or D3, people think that you're like in a whole different division sometimes, like to like the random person. And the thing that I say is that that's why like a lot of times I don't lead with recruits about like us being an HBCU because I think it's been so many times that people lead with that and now like I said they almost put you in a separate division, and it's like no, we're a Division One institution, a mid-major institution that's actually one of the best mid-majors in the country. At this point, we're in all the mid-major polls. This year we finished 27th in the mid-major poll. Out of all the mid majors in the country. So it's like we're a little bit more than like just an HBCU at this point. But I do think people think um, just about HBCU, all the time. It's kind of like they give you like a black eye, like you said, like people think HBCU is like D2 or D3, and there's nothing wrong with D2 or D3. I played Division three basketball myself, but we're not a Division 2 or Division 3 school. We don't operate that like that. We don't do anything like a Division 2 or Division 3 institution. So we just want to let people know that we are Division 1. And with that graphic today, the graphic, the title was like "Perception is not reality." You know what I mean? And I think once again, we talk about the perception of HBCUs, right? But the reality is, there's 14 Division 1 schools in the state of Virginia, and we have the third most wins since 2011, 2012 season. which is a tremendous feat for any school, let alone what people, say HBCU. So it's like we have more wins than, a whole bunch of your favorite schools. The only two schools that we don't have more wins than is VCU and Virginia. So, you know, we run a very, very good, reputable basketball program, and we want to keep doing that.
Absolutely. And I think, you and your staff, of course, are a major proponent in that success. So the we're talking about the success of the program. Four regular season championships, two
Mhm.
conference tournament championships, excuse me, and two NCAA, appearances. Um, how do you, stay hungry, at this point? Because I feel like, um, I do think that whether it's coaching, playing, you know, some people can kind of rest on their laurels and become complacent. But from what I see, from you and what you instill in your team, you always are, chasing more.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have the hunger for more, especially when you have a level of success, because you can't get complacent with level of success, because at this point in my career, I've been head coach for 11 years, and even you reading off some of those successes that's been accomplished so far, those are more successes than a lot of people have in a 20-year career, a 25-year career, and I'm people might say I'm just getting started, and things like that. So with me is that I try to keep that in perspective. I also try to keep it in perspective that it can all go away too. That kind of keeps my hunger going as well. Because even for us the last 2 years, we had 2 years of going back to back NCAA tournament, and now we've had 2 years of not going. So it's like, even though like once again, if you put it in a box, you can say, well, you've won 2 out of the last 4 championships, which is a tremendous accomplishment. But for me, I'm like, well, we didn't win the last two, so what do we got to do to win the next year? Let's do whatever we got to do to win next year. And that's my main goal. That keeps me motivated, keeps me hungry. Doesn't just let me sit back and just like, oh, I got all these Coach of the Year awards and trophies and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but some of them say 2019, 2021, 2022. Well, I guess this year, one of the trophies that do say 2024 on it, but it's like, how can I get a 2025 trophy?
Right, right. And that's definitely a recipe for success, keeping that mentality. I wanted to ask you about your outlook on recruitment. Like, what are some of the attributes that you uh, prioritize? When you're looking at players.
Obviously, everybody always has the political answer about like, oh, this, that, and the third, and X, Y. First, you got to see can they play. Like that might be the non-political answer, but that's the truth of the matter. If you can't play, then nobody's looking at you. Like
Mhm.
I have a son that's coming up in the basketball ranks, and I tell him all the time, you got to keep working on your skill. And he's a pretty decent player, but at the same time, it's like I could poke holes in your game all day. So you got to keep working on your skill, because if you don't have the skill, no one cares that you're a nice kid. It's always like when you get somebody to lead with like, hey, Will has a 3.6 GPA. Usually when they lead with that, kid usually can't play. I'm still like it's like you would say, okay, hey, Will's a pretty good player and he has a 3.6 GPA. Now it's like, okay, you got the total package to make him attractive, but you got to be able to play. You got to be coachable. And you got to be a good teammate. Too. I think that we look for guys who's a good teammates. We want to, because at our level, everybody who's on my team at some point in their life has been a star. They've been a star either at the previous college that they transferred from. They might have been like a good piece to the puzzle. They might not have been a star, but they were a good piece to the puzzle. But even before that, at some point, probably in their high school days, there was a star. The only way to really get to Division I is if you was a star in high school somewhere,
Of
right?
course.
So or a star in AAU or something, So you had to be a star somewhere. So like I'm dealing with like 15 stars, right? But everybody can't be a star on this level now. So now, are you going to be a good teammate? And be able to handle that. So you look at the interactions that they have with their team, the bench, stuff like that.
No, absolutely, I agree. I use an example because I was just watching the Timberwolves and in their series against the Nuggets the other day, and Alexander Walker is a player that if I could show like a young kid, what it looks like to be able to adapt in a role that could possibly reshape and extend, your playing days and your playing time. I think, that's like a great example of that. And, I know that, what you said is spot on. Everybody at the D1 level, for the most part, starred at high school, middle school, of course, all of that. But, once you get to that campus, as we know, none of that matters anymore. You know,
No, none of it matters. Like no one even cares anymore.
you know. So one thing I've been dying to get your thoughts on, further, because I seen you had some thoughts on NIL and the transfer portal, and I thought that was very interesting because I do think it is interesting. Of course, we see the movement of coaches, in college, but for the most part, you saw it maybe centering around like Coach Cal and a few of the other coaches, but you don't really hear about, the business side of it, what the buyouts look like and things like that. So, could you kind of give your thoughts?
On NIL and transfer portal.
Yes.
I mean, I think the NIL and transfer portal is like the things that they were created to do is now like turned upside down and backfiring to a certain extent. Because now it's like people said that, okay, with the transfer portal, kids should be allowed to play wherever they want to play. If they want to play every year somewhere different, they're allowed to do it because in real life you could change a job every year if you want to, right? And they say coaches, get up and leave and things like that or whatever, which is true. All right, coach could get up and leave. I could leave tomorrow to go to another institution if I wanted to. But the thing I say though is that's twofold. Usually when a coach leaves, he has a guaranteed situation already set up for him. Like if I leave Norfolk State, you better believe XYZ University is gonna I'm gonna sign a contract with them, right away. A lot of these kids are jumping into this transfer portal with the belief and hope, and they're hoping and praying that they're gonna get something, and a lot of times they do, but a lot of times they don't. And there's good players in the portal from like still hanging around from last year, still in the portal this year. I mean, there's kids that average double figures that's still in the portal. And you would think that if I average double figures, somebody will come see me. Somebody come get me. And it's not like that because there's so many you can get overlooked. Like college coaches are dealing with 3,000 transfer portal kids. On top of, there is some JUCO kids. On top of, even though high school kids don't get recruited as much right now, there's still some high school kids that you want. So it's like it's easy to overlook Rob Jones in the portal who averages 12 points a game because I don't know who you are. And I'm just looking through 3,000 names, and the way the portal is, it doesn't have like your stats next to you. It just has like Robert Jones, and then I guess somebody would be like Robert Johnson, it's alphabetical order. Like, so unless you really notice this kid, it could be a gym just sitting there and not doing anything. Other thing is too with the NIL is that the purpose of NIL was supposed to be name, image, and likeness, right? So they were supposed to be able to use. Once again, I'll use my name, Robert Jones, for a car commercial, and the car commercial, pays me for my name, image, and likeness. Before, I couldn't get paid for that. Like I might do the commercial just for out of love. I couldn't get paid. I couldn't do nothing with that, right? So people say they'll get exploited, which is true. So they put in the NIL stuff so the kids can make money, because yes, at a lot of institutions, there's a lot of money coming in, and the kids wasn't making any of it. So yes, should they get a piece of it? I think so. I agree with that. The problem is now that's not what's happening. Now it's turning into pay for play legally, really. Now it's turning into, hey, I got $200,000 for you to play for my team. It's not I have $200,000 for me to do this commercial or do this or whatever. Like no, it's just strictly it's a legal pay for play at this point in time, and it's taking away the purity of the game. And once again, these kids should get paid money. But then the other side of it too. And I'm not gonna take too much time because I could really go on about this question, but it's like I know you got a couple other questions to ask, but it's like at this point, right? Some of the major NIL guys are getting like $500, $600, $700, $800,000 to play a basketball, right, or football or whatever sport you're doing, right? Usually basketball, football at this point, right? Okay. The thing is that people hear about that, but they only realize it's only like 3% of like the whole nation doing that. There's actually like 70% of schools that don't even have NIL at all, right? But anyway, you give this top kid $600,000 to play basketball, right? All right, cool. So let's say he goes there, he turns out to be mediocre. He only averages 4 points a game, right? Okay. The kid gets the $600,000, so it's great. He's happy. He's buying everything. He's all. He gonna go get his rapper startup kit with his chain, his watch, his bracelet, and stuff like that. He gonna do all this stuff like that. But then he goes overseas, and he probably won't get a good rookie contract at all. Some of those bad rookie contracts are making like $2,000, $3,000 a month. So you go from $600,000 to making $30,000, right? Imagine the mental toll that takes on somebody, because like just even like you being a little older than a college student, if you was making 600,000 one year and made 30 the next, you were like, yo, what the hell am I doing? But you as an older young man, you would be able to handle it more, right? Imagine having a 22-year-old all of a sudden making $600,000 and then making 30,000 one month. So the thing that I say is that NCAA put such a big thing, a big stance on mental health, right? How is that mental health going to happen when I just made $600,000 last year and now I'm making $30,000 this year? I grew up in New York City. You would see like, okay, the stock market crashes or has a bad day. You hear about people jumping out the window on Wall Street and killing themselves because they couldn't take it. That they one minute is a millionaire, the next minute they broke. Or what they consider as broke. Right? So how is a kid going to handle that? Because they always say that sometimes it's hard to make like $1 million in your lifetime. Like some people don't make $1 million in their whole life, right? 30 years of working, they don't make $1 million, depending on what they do for a living, right? You give these kids close to lifetime earnings in 1 year at some places. I mean, how is he going to manage that? And it's not like a financial aid advisor is coming with you. They're not telling you that $500,000 is really $350 after taxes. You know what I mean? They're not telling you all of this stuff, and it's backfiring. Like, I'm all for the kids. If you can get this money, get the money, because the window for you to get the money is very, very short. But understand there's a price that comes with that. And understand that it could be a big price for you from a mental standpoint.
No, absolutely. Nobody's talking about the psychology, behind it and the toll it takes, for sure. Real quick, Coach, I'm gonna bring my host up, my co-host JP up.
What's going on, Will? How you feeling, good brother?
JP, I'm great, man. We up here with a legend, man. We got Coach Jones in the building with us.
I see. Coach Jones, how are you tonight, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
Yeah, I'm sorry for my tardiness to come in here. I had to take care of some business, and I'm dealing with an Achilles injury, so moving around is kind of hard for me right now. But definitely got to make the show, man. But I've heard part of what you were talking about, the NIL and everything, and I hear you, Coach Jones. Just some good stuff, man. Definitely.
So, in your experience, Coach, like, how much does the families play into that as well? So, as far as you talking about, like, the weight, the pressure, that the NIL and all the exposure around it can bring down with some of these kids.
Well, I mean, the families, some of it, some families need the money, so they look at it as like the quick get rich, scheme. Because I mean, let's face it, you drop $100,000 in front of anybody's face, they're going. I mean, you drop $50,000 in front of somebody's face, depending on their financial situation, they're gonna be like, this is a lot of money, and stuff. So, $100,000, $50,000, $25,000 might get you out of some debt. Might put some food on the table for a while. It might do a lot of things. So I think there's like there's a temporary satisfaction from the families and everybody. But you don't want like a temporary like emotion be a permanent fix about something, because that could be like the last big check you get if you pick wrong, right? A lot of times we ask recruits now, especially, is that because we don't have a big NIL and it's no secret, anything like that. But it's like, do you want the opportunity or do you want the money? Because it's going to be hard to get both out here. So what do you want? Can we give you the opportunity to, like, now you come here, maybe you're player of the year, maybe defensive player, who knows what you are, and to set you up to be able to go and make like some long-term money overseas or G League or NBA or whatever it is, or do you want the $500,000 from Kentucky and then sit on the bench and average 2 points and then we never hear from you again, but you got $500,000 that you blew in 2 years anyway because you had no financial advisor or no money management skills. So it's definitely something that the families got to decide what they want. And like I said, for us, we try to make the families decide. What do you want, the money or the opportunity? You're not going to get both in this college basketball thing anymore.
No, that's valid for sure. Would there be any words of wisdom you could give to players, up and coming players, and families, as they navigate, this new normal?
Just do your research on everything. Do your research on, like, what are you looking for in the long term? Because I think most basketball players, if you took away all this NIL and all stuff like that, I think most basketball would like to play as long as they can. I mean, hence why, like, a guy like LeBron, who's obviously filthy rich, why he keeps going, because he wants to play. We know LeBron doesn't have to. He doesn't have to shoot another basketball day in his life, and his life is going to be perfectly fine. Whatever, on a day-to-day basis. But most basketball players are competitors. Most athletes are competitors, and they want to keep going. So do you, like I said, once again, do you want to take this big lump sum of money now, and your career is over in 2 years, or do you want to have the opportunity to really showcase your talents? So, like, people who's really giving the real money, because let's face it, $500,000, $600,000, whatever these kids are getting at the big schools is a lot of money, right? But the NBA give out $60 million, $50 million, $40 million, stuff like that. They give out the real money. So do you want to be able to showcase your talent so you get the real money, or do you want to get this short-term fix right now?
Absolutely. JP, go ahead, brother. I'm sure you got some questions.
Yeah, definitely, Coach Jones. You say you're from New York City. I can tell, brother, by the accent, you're from New York. I can tell a New Yorker from anywhere. But question for you is, what part of New York City you from? What high school and college did you play for?
I'm from South Jamaica, Queens, New York, and I played for, I played for State University of New York at New Paltz, which is like SUNY New Paltz for short, and it's a Division III school.
Okay. All right. Definitely, man. And look, I've been following you for a long time with Norfolk State, man. You're one of the great coaches in college basketball, and I remember when you beat South Carolina that time in NCAA tournament. That was a big thing, and almost won the second round game as well. So yeah, you're doing big things.
We beat Missouri.
Yeah, we beat. Okay, so, I'm sorry. What? I'm thinking of South Carolina. It was Missouri, brother. Yeah. But I definitely remember you all for that, man. That was a great run you had. You almost won that second round game too, and we're going on to the Sweet 16. So you're doing big things down there. So how's your recruitment class coming in this year? What kind of team will you be having coming back next year at Norfolk State?
We should have a pretty strong team again. I mean, of course, we lost some pieces through graduation. We lost some through the transfer portal. We lost a couple. So we got to replace a few guys. But I think they're so far so good. And I think things are coming along the way they need to come along. So I expect for us to be in the hunt again next year for another championship. So we'll see.
So going back to the portal, kind of how do you find that right balance as far as recruitment? Of course, some of the players that's like a hotter commodity, in the portal, they typically, may only have a year or two, but that's invaluable experience, of course. And then, you have your high school recruiting, JUCO, like you mentioned before. Is there like a certain blend you look for, like more experience heavy? Or I know before you just said really, the first question is, can they play?
Yeah, I mean, one is it goes back to that first question: can they play? But after you answer that question, then you gotta try to have a little bit of balance. The thing I tell people, man, is that no matter if a kid is a freshman and like so, let's say you got 6 seniors and let's say you got 6 freshmen, right? In theory, you would think that that okay, after the seniors get out of the way, all right, we got some guys that's still here to carry on the torch. But really, every year with the way this portal is and the way this NIL stuff is, every year you got 13 seniors, in my opinion, because this could be the last time you see these guys, because the freshmen can leave, the seniors graduate, I mean, you got sophomores, juniors, whoever you want to have. Everybody can leave if they want to. So you better take it for what it's worth, like, and I'm not saying necessarily go get a whole bunch of seniors because that's not necessarily the answer either. But really, at any point in time, everybody's a senior on their team, for real. Like everybody's a senior on your team, because anybody can leave at the end of the year. People are leaving. I'm watching teams like I watched Seton Hall, who won the NIT championship, which is a very big, deal, right? That's the second biggest deal next to NCAA tournament. So they won the NIT championship. They had 9 guys leave. It's like, damn, winning don't mean anything anymore. Like, it's like you would think that you win the NIT championship, okay, you didn't make the NCAA tournament, you got snubbed or whatever the case, what it was. You showed the world that you're really good, and you would think, okay, hey, let's come back next year and let's go to Sweet 16 at the NCAA tournament, Elite 8 or something, Final Four or whatever. Let's show like the whole world that what we really made of. But it's like the kids had a success, and it's almost like, okay, well, we've done enough here. It's time to go. It's like you've done nothing really. It's like now it's like everyone leaves, and now Seton Hall after NIT championship is in rebuild mode. I mean, this is what's happening. This is like the things that's going on in basketball, which is crazy.
Absolutely. So I know JP was asking you kind of about the outlook of the roster. Is there, of course, everybody is out there, for first team success, but to make a name, is there anybody we should be, on the lookout for?
Some of the returnees that we got, I think the what we do is we have a good core of returnees that are coming back. We got 4 out of our 5 starters coming back. So, you should look out for any of those 4, really. We also got a young man, Chris Fields, who made all-rookie team last year. He should be able to take a step going forward. We got Christian Ings, who played really well the last 5 games of the season. Jelani Darden, Tyrell Bladen, and Koel Mading. Those guys really, they're starters. They got the seasoned vets, and they look to take another jump in their career next year.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to, watching, the team as a whole, checking out those guys. And, my side venture, the Lions Den, getting some articles, written up on those talented athletes as well.
Well, question.
JP, go ahead, brother. I know you got more. Fire away.
Oh yeah, definitely. Coach Jones. Also, let's talk about the great history of Norfolk State basketball. For those who are out there aware, there's been a lot of great players who have come from that program. Anybody from Pee Wee Kirkland to Bobby Dandridge to there's a player from South Jersey that I saw that played in high school as a little kid. I think he's going into, as a matter of fact, he's going into the Hall of Fame, Ralph Talley. So please speak to the people about some of the great players and great tradition of Norfolk State University.
I mean, Norfolk has a good tradition. They had a great tradition as a Division II school. Norfolk has only been Division I since 1997, and it's like we're basically creating this tradition as it goes on right now for Division I wise. Because like the thing is that we had like Norfolk, Bob Dandridge, you had Pee Wee Kirkland play here. You had Ralph Talley, you got all these guys that played here. And you definitely want to keep those guys honored and relative to everybody, relate to everybody and things like that. But it's like in this Division I era, we got to figure out what's going to be our niche, who's going to be the players, because that's what we play at now. We don't play in the CIAA no more. We don't do anything Division II wise no more. So we always say we're not trying to eliminate those legacies because those legacies will never die. But at the same time, we gotta create and start some new ones and that people can follow that they will get into about Division I era, So, we want you to talk about the guys like Kyle O'Quinn, who got drafted in 2012. We want to talk about, Joe Bryan Jr., who the last, was two-time player of the year here recently. We want to talk about, those guys. And hopefully we can add some more names to that list, as time goes on. But, we definitely want to create our own tradition Division I wise. And like I said, keep the legacy will never die with those Division II players. But Division I, man, as you know, JP, and it's like it's a whole different beast, man, than Division II, and not to discredit any of those guys, because those guys, you only can be as good as the level of teams you play against, right? So it's like, like for me, I was a Division III All-American, right? Some Division I guys might try to discredit that, oh, you just play Division III or whatever. Like, I could do that. Well, do it then. Show me, So it's like, I only could do it because I played Division III. So they lined up these guys against me. I did what I did. I made All-American. So it's like, you line Bob Damages, Pee Wee Kirkland, those guys up against Division II guys. They did what they did. They were Division II superstars. So, it is what it is. Now we got, like I said, we got to find those Division I superstars, and we have, we've been having a couple guys that's been making their mark Division I wise.
That's a great question, JP. That kind of segues into one that I had. As you mentioned before, like one of the goals, of course, if you let a game is to just play a long time. So, knowing that a lot of the guys that you had, had the chance to play in, Portsmouth Invitational, kind of make their mark, overseas. If you're still in touch with those guys, kind of what is that, that transition like, to overseas hooping, and then just like, how inspired, are these guys, to get that new life, in their careers?
I think they're very inspired. They want to get that check, So it's like you play your whole life, but now you try to be a professional, try to get paid for what you do. Anybody who gets paid for something is a professional. So if you can get paid for basketball, you're a professional. So that's what these guys want to do. They've been playing since they're little boys, growing up, and they're living their dreams. So we got a couple guys over there right now. Their season's about to be over. But we had Joe Bryan, which I mentioned. He won MVP in Poland. So he's coming back home now. And now I think the Knicks and the Cavaliers want to play summer league. So he has to decide which team he's going to play for, which makes the most sense for him. So that's a great accomplishment for him. We got Chris Bankston over there, who is still killing it in Israel. He was killing it in Greece, and now he's back in Israel. And he played with the Minnesota Timberwolves summer league last year, and things like that. And then we got we got a whole bunch of guys overseas really right now. Kyle O'Quinn actually is finishing. He didn't play this year, so he's kind of probably leaning towards retirement. But we'll see what happens though. He had a great career. 8 years in the NBA, 3 years overseas. You live the dream. You live the dream, made a lot of money. So what more can you do? For this basketball thing. So there's a lot of success stories, and like I said, I think there's a lot of times, it's always exciting when these guys get their first pro contract, because once again, this is what you've been working for, and you see the fruits of your labor pay off by getting a pro contract.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Coach. Go ahead, JP.
Oh yeah, Coach. One of the things I wanted to say was it don't matter what level of basketball is. It's good basketball played on all levels, man. And most people can't even play Division III basketball. So there's nothing wrong with Division III, Division II, Division I overseas or whatever, because it's just like you said, you can make a ton of money overseas and never have to work another day in your life. So it's not only the NBA, it's other avenues, as you said, for players to get to and to play, and also to see the world too. That's another good thing, experience for a lot of these players. Coach, I want to ask you tell the people out there about the rivalry between Norfolk State and Hampton, and how it really gets down.
Rivalry is intense. When I first got here, I really didn't understand it really too much. I knew it was like a rivalry game, but it's like, I didn't really feed into it too much. To this day, I really don't feed into it that much. Like I don't try like overdo it when it comes to that game. But I still remember when one of my first years, maybe my first year as head coach, when the newspaper, of course they, you get a lot of media around it, and I said that it's just like we're just treating it like a regular game, which you should treat like a regular game, honestly. If you want to have anything if you want to win, because if you get too riled up, you're gonna lose. So, they published that quote in the newspaper, and I probably got like 5 emails from alumni like, "This is not a regular game. This is not a regular game." I'm like, okay, it is a regular game though, but I got you. I understand that people want to win. People want bragging rights. People want to be able to go in the barbershops, the beauty salons, the grocery store, the gas stations, and say, they want to wear their Norfolk State shirt. If they see somebody with Hampton, they said, "Oh, we got you." They want stuff like that to happen. So as time went on, I understood the rivalry a little bit more. Once again, I can't say I totally feed into it all the time, but I do understand. I understand how the people feel more. Let's just say that, like whether it's my opinion or not, because once again, I still got to treat this like a regular game. Like I can't be doing like get wound up about a Norfolk State Hampton game that really don't mean that much in the whole grand scheme of things, because at this point, we're not even in the same conference or nothing. So it's like it really don't only mean nothing at this point. But the thing is that what's so crazy is that you could be 30-0, which is a hell of a year. And like if you lose to Hampton, everybody like, "Oh, you suck." Like, no, we don't suck. We actually pretty good. Like, or it could be like you're 0-30, but you beat Hampton. Great win, coach. Well, no, we actually do suck because we're 1-30. But it's like people kind of get that kind of mixed up a little bit, because the people get in that rivalry so much, they almost like don't care if you win anything else. They just want you to win that game and win the championship. Like if you can win those 2 games, it's like almost everything in between. It's like people don't care.
Word. Now, last question, Coach. I want to stick to my word on the time and everything. Is put you on a spot here. I know you support and you're a fan. Of course, of all your former players. If you had to give a top 5 of players that you coached at NSU, what would that 5 be?
Top 5, I don't know, man. That's tough, man. I mean, top 5. I mean, obviously, Kyle Quinn would be number 1. I mean, he made the NBA. He made the NBA. I mean, you can't take away a guy who made the NBA from being number 1.
Absolutely.
But other 5, I mean, Joe Bryant definitely was up there. Would be up there. He 2-time back-to-back Player of the Year. Can't take that away. You got to put a 2-time back-to-back Player of the Year in a top 5 situation. And then there's probably a lot of guys that's probably could fight for 3 through 5, but those will probably be the top 2. And everybody else would be jockeying for position, really, because it's like you got a whole bunch of guys. You can go from Pendarvis Williams, who had a great career here. He was Player of the Year at 1.2 to even this year we had a good kid, Jamari Thomas. We got Chris Bankston from last year. You got Devontae Carter, who had a great year. I mean, he won a championship too his senior year. I mean, Dana Tate. There's a whole list of guys that you can go through. Jonathan Wade averaged like 19 and a half. He was like the biggest scorer that I ever had play for me. He averaged 19.4. We had Jeff Short, who averaged 19.1. So it's like, I mean, I could go on and go on, man, about the players, but it's like probably like, how people say like a Mount Rushmore, it'll be like, if it was a Mount Rushmore, and I know Mount Rushmore got, I think, 5 heads or 4 heads on there or something like that, but I can't really give you a full Mount Rushmore, but I can give you the first 2 heads of the Mount Rushmore. And after that, you can decide who you want to put up there. It'll be Joe and Kyle. Those will be the two guys, and then you can fill in your opinion of who 3, 4, and 5 is.
I respect that, and for sure that's the automatic too. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely automatic too, man. Automatic. And if anybody disagree with that, they're crazy. I mean, like, you can't disagree with that. For the Division I era, obviously, if you want to go through the whole Norfolk State stuff, that's totally different. But for the Division I era, I mean, that's 1A and 1B, because even though Joe didn't get to the NBA, he had a lot of collegiate accomplishments that even Kyle didn't have. he had all types of collegiate accomplishments. So it's like, all right, one is a pro, so he got to be there. I mean, you know what I mean? But then you got one that's so like probably the most decorated player that's ever going to be here from a collegiate standpoint, especially with the, going back to question one with the portal and stuff like that. You never get a guy to be in college at the same school for 4 years no more. It's over. It's over for that. Like you'll be lucky to get a kid for 2 years. 3 years is like you're really pushing it. 3 years is gonna feel like 4 because it's like, these kids is like if they have a good freshman year, they're gonna leave you. You know what I mean? If they didn't play their freshman year, they might leave you too because they mad at you. You know what I mean? Like you almost need guys to average like around like that 5-6 points a game because they kind of like indifferent. Like okay, they were good for you, but they're probably not good enough to leave. But they were good for you, and now hopefully their second year, third year, that they could get the points that they want. Blah blah blah. But at the same time, 5 or 6 point a game. A team full of that don't win no championships either. So it's like you gotta figure out a balance of that stuff, So it's getting harder and harder, man, for real out here. But I appreciate that. That was a good question though, and I think I made it cool enough that nobody get mad at me. You know what I mean? Because I don't think nobody could, like I said, could argue with Joe and Kyle. Like if you argue with them, you're just out of control.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, first off, the main reason I did want to bring you on the show, like JP and I said, we're fans of, you and what you do, leader of men, the success you've had, the program and ambassador, HBCU sports, and also, for those that, may not know, you're a man of your word as well. We've been going back and forth trying to set it up, and you definitely, came through. So we appreciate you and wanted to give you your flowers as a living legend.
I appreciate that, man. That's a deep term, living legend. I don't know about that one yet, but
you are definitely are.
I just try to do what I can for these kids and for the institution. I respect my position. I say every day is like it's only 300 and I guess at this point 368 Division I schools because a couple schools moved up. So it's really only 368 of us in the world, as far as Division I head basketball coach. So I take my job real serious. I take it like, I really, I don't take it for granted, not one bit. And just want to keep trying to impact in lives. And once again, there's not that many African American Division I head basketball coaches either. So I know that, if I don't make this work, I might not get another chance. So I gotta try to make this thing work as long as possible. And like I said, keep trying to put young men in society and put them in position to live their dreams. So, I'm gonna keep doing what I gotta do with that.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Appreciate you.
I'm gonna be reaching out. I'm gonna try to get out there. Maybe catch a practice games when the season kicks off. And support y'all. Any way that
Definitely.
Yeah, come on through, man. Let me know when you're coming through.
All right.
I definitely want to make some. I'm up here in Jersey, but I'm definitely going to come down. Support y'all too. Definitely some games, man. Definitely.
Appreciate that, man. And, obviously with you guys, because you said you're local, right?
Yep, I'm in the 7-5.
Okay, yeah. So if you usually you can email and get a media pass, so you'd be all right with that. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna get on that first thing in the morning.
Yeah, and then let me know what they say because sometimes people be trying to get media passes that's really not media. So, but like if I co-sign you, they'll give you one.
Okay, that's a bet. Appreciate you, Coach.
All right, no doubt, man.
All right, enjoy the rest of your evening and much success this season to you.
Appreciate you, man. And then anytime y'all get like, I know y'all probably gonna do the snippets and so if you tag me, then I make sure I retweet it so you can get the love y'all deserve.
Much appreciated.
Appreciate you.
Take it easy. Man.
All right, you too now.
Appreciate it.
Oh, man, that was great, brother.
Absolutely, bro.
That was man. You look, he's one of the best coaches in college basketball and one of the most underrated coaches in college basketball.
Absolutely.
If he gets some of the talent that a lot of these big schools get, he'd be in the Final Four almost every year.
Mm-hmm.
Hell of a coach, man. What could you say? And I like to see, I wish we had a little bit more time. I would like to, ask him about, the HBCUs and when are we going to get, we had the kid last year that went to Howard last year that tried to do something. And when are we going to get maybe like a Fab Five type of HBCU team. You know what I'm saying? To come through and stuff. I think he'd be a great coach for a big time. You know, to get a big time McDonald's All American or somebody like that to come in.
No, I agree, man. He's a coach that makes the most out of talent he has. So, you give him, somebody that has the outlook of possibly being a first round pick. I'm sure, he would really make the most of that.
Yeah, I'm sure he said, and I'm sure Coach Jones has had some offers too, which is none of our business really, but I'm sure he had. But he's sticking here to, as he said, to mold men. You know what I mean? To mold these young men into men. And man, I mean, that's one thing you could say about going to an HBCU. I never, I went to, I'll be honest with you, my former education with college was going to a local community college for like 2 years. So, that's my thing. I had a chance to go away to college, but it was one of the worst decisions I made because I actually could have gone to Stillman University down in Alabama. But I'm like, man, I ain't going to doggone school down in Alabama, and, I kind of regret that. Maybe it could have changed me. I could have gone to Shaw or someplace like that because one of my best friends, Coach Rod's brother-in-law, Keith, he went there. He told me to come on down. I'm like, nah, man, I decided to stay home, and you got to get away, you know what I mean, to see, experience different things in life. That's important, man. But but my whole point was that when you go to an HBCU, whether it's Norfolk State or whatever, these schools take care of you, bro. And if the education's there, you want it, they're gonna make sure you get educated.
That's real, bro. And that's the important thing. I didn't get a chance to ask him about that, but the success rate as far as the graduations, and things like that, they have a very high, success rate, at that across all the HBCUs, and that's something that should be talked about more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, well, since Coach Jones is from New York City, he might not like this one, bro. I need these New York Knicks to be put to a stop, bro. And you know what, Will? To be honest with you, it's not the Knicks, it's the fan base, man. I have a lot of friends who are Knicks fans, bro. A lot of friends who are Knicks fans, and they are annoying to the highest level.
Mm-hmm.
And with Philly losing, bro, I couldn't let this thing happen, but it did, and you gotta give the hats off. In all seriousness, though, man, that team is tough, bro.
They just find ways to win.
That team is tough. Jalen, and you know what? I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna say this. I remember when Jalen Brunson first signed the Knicks, Mr. Nick himself, Stephen A. Smith. Remember, he's like, well, why did we get Donovan Mitchell? Why did we do this? It's another mistake. Now all of a sudden, go New York, go. Come on, bro. I remember what you said. You said Jalen Brunson's cool, but you rather have Donovan Mitchell. Mm-hmm. Hey, Jalen Brunson right now, top 5 player in the league. And he's so tough. Like, I mean, toughness as far as grittiness and mental toughness, and that's that Villanova way. You see it with I always say his name. I'm just gonna call him Dante and Hart and all them. Man, those guys are just mentally tough. And once again, I'm going to say it. Where in the hell was the 76ers scouting staff at when Villanova won 2 of the 3 national championships between 2016 and 18? Where were you all at? Okay, you didn't want to take them in the first round. You could have took them in the second round. They're no more than 30 minutes away from downtown Philly. Villanova is on the main line. They're in your own backyard. These guys won 2 national championships. No scouting them? And they're all solid players. So, oh boy.
Well, if we're going to talk about that, we got to talk about arguably the worst draft day trade that I've ever seen.
Who's that?
Mikal Bridges for Zaire Smith.
Well, I mean, look, I love my Sixers, man. I do, man. And and I'm not going to talk bad about them and stuff because them Colangelos, they were around back then, man. They ran that team into the ground, good brother. This is the reason why we struggling. No good Colangelos, man. They ran this team into the ground with some of the stuff. And I liked Markel Fultz coming out. I really did. I thought he was gonna be a star, but he had a shoulder injury, and I'm glad he's actually playing well. I'm glad he's actually playing well. But I think Tyrese Maxey makes up for Markel Fultz. With them taking the number one pick, and he had a shoulder injury, so I think he makes up for that. But look, brother, it's like I said with the Sixers. You talk about that trade, nah. The worst, as I've said this before, the worst trade in NBA history was when they traded Moses Malone and the number one pick, Brad Daugherty, for Jeff Ruland, Cliff Robinson, and Roy Hinson. That was the worst trade I've ever seen in my lifetime. And you know what's crazy? A couple days before that happened, they asked Larry Bird about it. You know what Larry Bird said? He said, it's the Sixers. They'll find a way to screw it up. And he was right. He was right. But little did he know that Boston was going to be messed up for over 20 years too, a couple days later. And Will, I was thinking about that when I guess late, like in June or whatever, we need to do a segment on we've talked about it before, man, but we need to do a segment on Len Bias, man. And I remember when he passed, bro. It was I'll never forget it. Where I was at. It was like one of those, where were you at when Len Bias passed? And it was a tragedy because I remember when they drafted Len Bias, I was like, and after we made that trade that day, I was like, oh boy, I'm about to be sick. I'm about to be sick. But little did we know 2 days later, man, it's like I always say, Will, about basketball in the 80s. As much as I love that era, and I think it was a golden age for the 80s and stuff, a lot of great players, it was also a tragic time too. Whether you talk about Len Bias or Benji Wilson, we never got a chance to see these guys grow, man, and to become what they were going to become. It's a tragedy. And not to go on about the Bias family, but it's like his mother and father, man. I mean, they even lost his brother. His brother died 4 years later over some nonsense. Yeah, his brother Jay Bias, he died in 1990, 4 years later, over some nonsense.
Yeah.
It's man, boy. It's 80s were great, but it was tough, bro. It was some tragic. It was some tragic toughness that went on with that too, man. It was tragic. But yeah, Will. But let's move on. Have you discussed the playoffs yet or nah?
Nah, bro. I say that for you.
Okay. All right. Well, we already talked about the Knicks, what they're doing to the Indiana Pacers. I understand some calls might not go your way or whatever, bro. But hey, you gotta play the game, bro. You gotta come through. I watched them blow a 15-point lead last night.
Yep.
It comes down to what you want to do. What you want to do. Let's look at Dallas and OKC. OKC won game one. Is there an update on the score right now?
Yeah, Dallas 21, OKC 20.
Okay, it's a close game, man.
Mm-hmm.
It could be. I think the thing that might hurt Dallas in this series is Luka seems to be a little injured with that knee. So we're going to see how effective he is and stuff. But I still think this is going to be a great series that we have. Also, I saw Boston went down tonight.
Yep, it's 1-1 now, Boston and Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland won by 24. So that's a convincing victory.
That's a convincing victory.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, man, they have a lot of talent, bro. They have a lot of. I knew this game. I knew this series was going to be tough for for Dallas. I mean for Boston. I knew it was going to be tough because Cleveland, man, Donovan Mitchell. You know something, Will? I'm gonna tell you something, man. Donovan Mitchell is one of the best big game players of this era that people don't talk about. He's a big player, bro.
And he's small too.
You know what? I always thought Donovan Mitchell was like 6'4", 6'5", but he's actually like 6'1", 6'2", maybe 6'1".
Yep.
But he's built like a tank, and the way that his leaping ability, man, is on another level. I'm gonna tell you a player he kind of reminds me of from back in the day. He's a little smaller than him, but he reminds me a lot in some ways of David Thompson.
Skywalker. Okay.
This guy, he reminds me of him for some reason. That's the player that comes to mind is David Thompson.
I mean, that's another player that, he wasn't the tallest, at his position, but that leaping ability, man, and he could score with the best of them.
Yeah. David Thompson, when I was a little kid, I had two favorite players. Of course, nobody replaced Doc. But when I was a little kid, David Thompson was probably my second favorite player. When I was like 5, 6 years old, man. I mean, man, the way the leaping ability he had and stuff. And you got to remember, like you said, he was only 6'3", 6'4". He was battling Bill Walton for the boards. Bill Walton was easily 7 foot, and his shot blocking ability was for a 6'4" guard, 6'4" small forward back then was amazing. And they said he had small hands too.
Nah, that's crazy the way he was dunking all over people.
He was dunking all over people. Did not have a care in the world. And, of course, he had a little bit of personal problems, but he overcame them though. So I would say if David Thompson, he played 9 years, he messed his knee up. But if David Thompson was actually, on point with everything, we're talking about a top 10 player of all time. He was Michael Jordan's idol.
Yep, I do remember hearing that.
Yeah. We're talking about easily a top 10 player of all time. So in my opinion, he's definitely a top 5 college player of all time. You got to put him on top 5 or Mount Rushmore because things he did at NC State, man, were legendary. Absolutely. But okay, we discussed that series. Now, we discussed OKC and Dallas and Cleveland and the Knicks and all them. Bruh, we got to get into this Minnesota Denver series, man. I figured Minnesota was going to give them a little bit of problems, but I didn't expect an enormous amount of problems that they're giving them. And I think one of the problems is the length of Minnesota is really bothering them, and the depth of the big men they have is really bothering them as well. We look at Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, the kid Alexander. He's a good athletic defensive player up front. Mike Conley. Go ahead, Will.
McDaniels.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to say that. McDaniels. And Will, I'm going to tell you a player that everybody is, in my opinion, he should have been a first-round pick. In my opinion, is Naz Reid. Because I followed Naz Reid since he's been like an 8th grader up here in New Jersey. Because remember, he was at the time he was considered the number 1 8th grader in the country before he went to Rose Park. Yeah, Asbury Park. And man, let me tell you something, man. I saw the LSU too. I thought he should be the first-round pick, but that dude could play.
No, I agree with you. I thought that. It's in my opinion, and it's not even the Jersey bias, but I felt like the way he can play offensively, handle the ball, shoot the ball, all of that. Like to me, that's a lottery. That was a lottery pick, and I feel like they weigh a lot of things that have nothing to do with basketball, but it worked out, for the Timberwolves for sure.
Yeah, it definitely did. And remember, in high school, him and Karl Anthony Towns used to battle. Who's going to win the TOC? Karl Anthony Towns got him his senior year, but he was a junior. At St. Joe's Metuchen, because Carl Towns was a monster too in high school. But man, we got to talk about this Anthony Edwards though, bro. That's why I left him last, man. Hey, Will, we're looking at a superstar right before our eyes, good brother.
Oh, absolutely, man. And the craziest part is he's doing it on both sides of the ball. He's playing
Yeah,
defense. He's embracing that side of the ball. And offensively, super athlete, but you could tell the game slowed down for him. And you see he's playing a game well beyond his years. He's finding his spots. He's getting to that mid range. You see this year, he shoots it way more at a higher clip, and he started incorporating the bank shot, at a high level. And I at this point, obviously you can improve, and he's very young, but he's improved so much in a short span of time. I know your guy, Wemby is the obvious choice for face of the league, but Ant with his on the court play and his personality, man, he's got to be right there.
yeah, definitely. The NBA seems like it's in good hands. And if you notice, if everybody knows this weekend, it's like the new generation is starting to step up now, because you got LeBron home, AD home, Steph, Clay, and Draymond home, KD, he's home. And, of course, those guys are all time greats. Of course, they'll be back in the playoffs probably next year and everything, man. But, the young guns are coming, bro. They're here. The young guns are here, and for those people out there, look, the NBA is in good shape, man. Because the thing I like about the NBA is you got a mixture of young and old. You got the older vets like KD, LeBron, and AD, and Steph, and Draymond and Clay and all them. But you also got these young cats coming up like Anthony Edwards, like a Karl Anthony Towns and the other players. Hey, Will, another thing we had to go over too is I ask you this question. Do you think Jamal Murray should have been suspended for Game 3 tomorrow night?
I do, because first of all, you don't throw anything on the court. Second of all, seeing the footage, it was by a stroke of luck that Karl Towns didn't get hurt stepping on that, the ice pack, whatever it was, heating pad, whatever. One of the first things that you're taught, whether it's in karate as a kid, sports, whatever, is that you have to have discipline. And that was extremely irresponsible of him to do that, and no matter what's going on, how frustrated you are, because at that point, you don't care, you're not thinking, and you don't care about what could happen to someone else.
Good point, man. Good point. And I was kind of surprised because you never see Jamal Murray really get upset like that, or anything. But he was very upset. I felt as though Mike Malone could easily be thrown out the game too.
Oh yeah, he
get
was
up in the
wild
ref's face like that. He was out of pocket.
Right. Listen. I'm not here to be divisive, but look, man, we be real. That's a black coach. They getting ejected, bro. Let's be honest.
They're getting ejected. They're getting ejected, man. They're getting ejected, definitely. Well, Will, I guess we could wrap up this basketball segment here with this. Well, I see the Nike IBL is keep on doing this thing. Hopefully, we can make some of those events this summer. Mm-hmm. But well, let's end it real quick. I guess we could do 5 minutes or whatever. Since it's the talk of the world, everybody's talking about it. This Drake and Kendrick Lamar battle, man, that went down last weekend. It was like shots fired every day. It felt like last weekend, man. We had this battle between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. I'm gonna get your take on it. I'm gonna give my take on it. How'd you feel about it, bro?
Variety of thoughts and feelings around the situation. As a hip hop fan, I thought it was cool, man. Two of the biggest artists in the world, embracing the challenge. This is the most music we've had in a beef that I can recall, probably going back to, it might be like, when G Unit was beefing with Game, or, Dipset, Murder Inc., something like that, So it was cool, man. I think both of the guys were inspired. It's some of the best music I've heard from both of them recently, but I do think overall, man, it's just kind of crazy. talking to Bianca about it, there's another side of it. Of course, the casualty in the situation is always like kids and women. So that aspect of it is unfortunate. And those are the innocent parties that really have nothing to do with it. But from a music standpoint, man, I thought it was cool. And I thought Kendrick, his last record, you know, making a record that could get played, as they say, outside, was genius because
Yeah.
anywhere you go, you gonna hear that record, man.
And the crazy thing about it was people would say, and of course, these are people who I call, as we say with sports, casual. These are, me and you, we're real hip hop heads. You know what I mean? Just not make no mistake about it. As much as we like sports, we real hip hop heads. And the thing about it was people talk about, well, Kendrick ain't making the club songs the way Drake made. First off, a battle's not about a club songs, you idiot. That's the first thing. It's about lyrics. That's what it's about. But like you said, though, Kendrick dropped. I'm going to put it to you this way: if this went on next month, or whatever, like say mid-June or whatever, it would have been the summer anthem.
Yep.
It still might be the summer anthem because everybody is playing this song. Not only was it a diss song, it's also, like you say, a club banger. The clubs were going crazy when they played this song. They're not like us. The clubs were crazy. And let's understand something. Drake had some good ones too. Let's understand something, man. Drake had some good ones too. But the only problem I had with Drake, to be honest with you, what did you mean by that? You trying to free the slaves? That's my only issue. What exactly did you mean by that line that you said? Because we know you're not American. You grew up in Canada or whatever. But what did you mean Kendrick's trying to free the slaves? It's just a question. That's all I'm saying.
No, I definitely, when I heard it, I was like, huh?
Yeah.
He said what? And I found it especially interesting because of some of what Kendrick was talking about, in his songs, talking about Drake, the identity crisis and all of that type of stuff. So for you to take that angle is, that's a choice, definitely, and I feel like, I guess I get it, but I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's because I told my wife, I was like, I'm not saying he is like, white, but like, how would you feel, what I'm saying, if, I don't know, Jack Harlow said that, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of almost the feeling that I got, hearing it,
And I don't mean to be on a soapbox with this or even a division, but understand, I need people upstairs to understand this. The so-called African that came over here to America built this place. And if you don't believe me, just read history. Read about places that you go to. And besides that, there, athletics and everything, civil rights movement, and we can go into that there. Every immigrant owes a Black American some type of credit for them to open up doors because of the Civil Rights Act and all that other stuff, because we had to go through the beatings and the water hoses and all that stuff there. So actually the Black, and I don't mean, to be divisive or whatever, but we just stating facts here. The Black American not only helped build this country, but also paved the way for every immigrant who comes over here. So, that's just my thing. And I didn't mean to be on a soapbox or whatever, but I just wanted to give credit due to the so-called the free slaves. That's all I wanted to talk about real quick. Just to give credit where credit's due, brother.
Nah, no soapbox at all, bro. That's part of what makes our show unique, man. We, like you said, we state the facts. We talk from a variety of life experiences, knowledge of history, the culture, and all of that. So that was needed, bro, for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. Well, man, like I said, brother, my apologies, man, for being late. And man, for those that don't know, I don't really discuss my personal business like that, but I had an Achilles injury. It's not torn or anything. It's just I got tendonitis in it, and just moving around, man, is just right now. It's just crazy, bro. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. Excuse me. So I just wanted to say that, man. But Will, let's wrap it up, brother. Want to thank you again. Thank you as always, brother. What's the show 22 tonight, right?
Yep. 22.
22. We gonna keep on ticking, man. We gonna keep on kicking and ticking, brother. Definitely. And thank you to the listeners who out there. Also, thank you for all the support we got last week as well, man. We got a lot of support with the show that we had last week. We want to thank you all as well. And hey, man, for Will and JP, hope you have yourselves a great weekend. And also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there as well, man. We got to. Also, happy Mother's Day to Bianca as well, and your mom too, Will. Definitely, brother.
Appreciate that, bro. And happy Mother's Day to Mrs. Polk, and a special woman in our lives. Nancy J. Smith as well.
Yes, definitely, man. Definitely. If it wasn't for mothers, none of us would be here, man. None of us would be here without our mothers. So, whatever you do this weekend, treat your mom right, get her whatever she wants. And hey, man, we'll see y'all next week on the other side. For Will and JP, we say peace and see you next week.
Peace.